All right, guys. So we're on part three, Amari. So we're back to Amari's perspective, and we are on chapter 17, Amari and Adjustments, page 68. The next 3 months were hot, confusing, and miserable. Amari tried to assimilate into the culture of plantation life. Dawn always came too quickly, and she woke each morning with a start as she heard the roosters announce the day. Amari and Polly chopped and gathered wood for Teeny's fire, learned to set it, stoke it, and keep it blazing, and were taught how to hang the heavy pots so food would cook as Teeny commanded. Teeny showed them the stones that had been dug into the side of the fireplace, where bread was baked and the iron grills where food was fried. Amari still wasn't sure of how she felt about Polly, who at first seemed to be indignant that she wasn't working at the big house. Amari snorted with disdain at Polly's resentment. The white girl, she gradually learned, had the chance to be free one day. Amari knew too well that she would never taste freedom again. Gradually, as they fell into a daily routine, Polly seemed to relax, but Amari could see she still felt somewhat superior to the slaves around her. She wouldn't touch any of them, not even to give Tibbet a hug, and she looked with longing at the main house all the time. Amari figured she was waiting for her opportunity to work there instead of in the kitchen with the slaves. The two girls merely tolerated each other. Tibbet scurried everywhere with Amari and Polly, showing them how to turn the meat on the spit, the secrets of gathering eggs from the chickens without getting pecked, and what ingredients were needed to make the dough for the bread. For such a small child, he knew as much about the running of the kitchen as his mother, Amari thought, impressed. She thought sadly of how she used to try to avoid chores, how she wished she could help her mother once more. Amari slowly learned how to cook and eat foods she never could have imagined. Sometimes they had squirrel or venison, which Amari learned was the meat of one of the many deer she saw around the place. The animal would be skinned and gutted, then the flesh was cut in long strips and hung in the smokehouse to dry over hot smoked wood. Hams, mutton, even wild turkey hung there in the darkness of the smokehouse, waiting to be used in the winter when food was not so plentiful. Teeny told Amari that it was the only building on the plantation that was kept locked at all times. Not even Teeny had a key. Fresh fish was brought in by slaves every day, and Teeny taught both Amari and Polly how to clean it and fry it. Amari also showed Teeny how to make fish stew like her mother had made. It was on those days that she closed her eyes and dreamily imagined herself back just for a moment in the smoky hut of her parents. One day when Teeny brought in a basket of yams from the garden, Amari babbled in excitement, half in English, half in her native language, unable to make Teeny understand at first that Amari's mother had grown yams just like these in her own garden. "You talking about how yams grow in Africa?" Teeny finally asked when Amari had calmed down. Amari took a deep breath and grabbed a yam from Teeny's basket. "My mama," she began. Then tears filled her eyes, and she gave up trying to explain. She closed her eyes and sniffed it. She could almost smell her mother's boiled chicken and yams. "You know, my mama come from Africa too," Teeny told her. "She teach me what she knew about Africa food. Long as you remember, child, it ain't never gone." Amari nodded in appreciation. Tibbet's constant laughter made the long work day seem a bit easier. He laughed when Amari dropped food in the fire and when the rooster chased Polly and pecked her arm. Hush Puppy shadowed the child's every move, running with Tibbet in the sunshine, and Amari knew the dog slept curled up with him at night. Tibbet jabbered all the time, asking questions, making little jokes, playing tricks on his mother and the two girls. Amari learned quite a bit of English from the boy, who seemed to know intuitively what she needed to know. She also liked the way Polly talked to her constantly, making sure she knew the words of each food for each food or task they encountered. Although she was proud that her command of the language was growing, it bothered Amari that she still spoke it so poorly. She knew she sounded stupid. She didn't like it. She got mixed up on verbs like come and came, as well as on plurals of words like house and mouse. Why would these people say houses but not mouses? Why mice and not heist? So remember, guys, that language for most people, most other countries, is a little bit simpler than the English language. The way we separate stuff in plural, make some words plural one way and not plural another way, like moose is not mice or meese is just moose or stuff like that. So it is very confusing for. And notice that a lot of people did that with Africans because if you come over and you don't know the language, people automatically think that you're not bright. It's not that you're not bright, you just don't know the language. And that's what she's dealing with. She knows she sounds like she's not bright. People are taking her as not being bright, but it's just because she can't command the language yet. But the fact that she's learned it in just a few months, pretty well under the circumstances that she's in, speaks a lot about Amari's intelligence. All right. Amari understood much more than she let anyone know, however. Most of what was said around her she could figure out, but she knew the value of keeping her mouth shut and acting ignorant. An occasional slight nod from Teeny told her she was doing the right thing. In the evening, both she and Polly fell asleep exhausted, with Amari praying that she would not be called to the big house. But at least twice a week, Tibbet stole quietly through the darkness to fetch Amari to come to the bedroom of Clay Derby. Each time she forced her mind to go back to the dust of her childhood, the soft rain showers, the warm sunshine over her village, anything to help her endure, to help her forget his smell, his greasy hair, his damp hands. But the worst was when he felt like talking. These were times she really hated, because she was forced to stay in his room much longer. You ever talk to that cow my father married? Clay asked her one night. No, sir, Amari had replied quite quietly. I have no call to speak to the missus. She doesn't belong here, Clay said angrily, almost to himself. And now she's having a child, and my father acts as if it is the next Messiah. He ground his fist into the sheet. Amari had no answer. She just wanted him to say she could leave. He lifted his head off his pillow then and spoke directly in her face. His breath smelled of spoiled food, and Amari had to force herself not to gag. You like me, don't you? The question was sudden and abrupt. Shocked at the question, Amari swallowed hard. If she said no, he might get angry. If she said yes, he might manage to misunderstand her hatred of him. So she pretended she didn't know what he meant. Remember, a lot of times slaves had to do that fine line because if you said the wrong thing, it was very likely you were going to get beat, possibly killed, mutilated, tortured. You didn't know. So a lot of times you couldn't speak your absolute truth. You had to try to play the game, play along to get along, kind of thing. I asked you a question. I know you understand much more than you let on. You do like me, don't you? He implored quietly. To Amari, his voice sounded like a little plaintive, almost as if he needed her to say she liked him. Yes, sir, Amari whispered, cringing. Amari was amazed to hear him breathe a sigh of relief. I had a feeling you cared about me, Clay said, assurance creeping back to his voice. Did Tinny give you the extra blanket I left for you? He asked, sounding concerned. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. What she didn't tell him was that she couldn't bear to touch the thing, so she had given the blanket to Sarah Jane, a slave who had recently given birth. I think I'll let you come back tomorrow night, Clay said to Amari through the darkness. I'm looking forward to it. Go on back to your place now. Uh, Thank you, sir, Amari whispered miserably. She crept out of his bed and down the back steps and over the path through the darkness back to her cabin. She shivered uncontrollably and could not sleep. Morning always came harshly. So, and as you can see, sometimes this happened in slavery where even if one of the slave masters or one of the overlords kind of caught feelings for a slave, they kind of mistook their obedience for love or an affection, which it wasn't. And Clay's not bright enough to understand that. And a lot of people weren't because they just thought, since they had to do it, that they wanted to do it. Because remember, they didn't think the Africans had the complex feelings of other white people. So, and we'll start back on the next one, chapter 18, Roots and Dirt, page 71. We'll be back.